So one of my viewers asked this question, should magic be exhausting? And it's a pretty interesting concept. So the short answer is yes and or no. And let's get into it and kind of figure out why.
Necronomicon is coming.
So speaking of being exhausted, I just got over a cold. So if you guys hear me cough, that's why. I literally spent like all weekend just kind of dying in bed. Um, so I got a little bit of a scratchy throat still. So I thought it was kind of appropriate to make this video, um, vis-a-vis being exhausted. So if let's go over raising energy. If you want a further explanation of it, I do have a video on raising energy that I made a while back. It's in my general magic playlist, and basically, raising energy has to do with the emotional excitement that you bring up within yourself in ritual, whether it's whatever emotion it is, whether it's like anger or happiness or whatever kind of emotional word you want to tie into it to describe it. But the energy that we are raising in ritual is an emotional energy that is channeled through us, whether it comes from deities above, or the energy of the earth below, or the spirits around us, or the spirits that we bring in and we evoke. We channel that energy through us, and it's translated through emotions. It's brought forth through emotions. Emotions is like the channel or the filter through which this energy comes through, and that type of energy that you are channeling through is based on the emotion that is the target of the spell work. So um, there's another YouTuber that I referenced this kind of ritual a long time ago. I can't remember um, what video it was in. It might have been in that raising energy vid, but it was kind of a banishing spell where the entire target of it was to exhaust yourself using your anger, or I think it was an attack spell or something, attack banishing. Either way, it was some kind of negative thing where you physically exhausted yourself beating the utter crud out of an effigy. And why would you want to make yourself exhaustively tired? Because you're using all of that anger on an external object, like attracts like, and you're taking all of your energy out on that thing, which represents that person, so then the energy will go towards that person, like attracts like. And yes, you are exhausted at the end of it. Now, what does that do? One, you put a truckload of energy into something, you're gonna get more of a result than putting a little amount of energy into something. And two, all of that anger that you now channeled through yourself into that object by beating the crud out of it, that anger is supposed to be gone when you're done. That's why you're literally supposed to do it to the point of you are so exhausted that you fall asleep. So it's a cathartic thing also, because you are no longer supposed to have that anger anymore because you got all of it out. So that's kind of along the lines with the anger thing. Yeah, exhaustion is the point when it comes to like banishing or um, or I guess you could say attacking things, which I don't really like to talk about because I'm not a fan of using offensive magic, let's say, unless I absolutely have to. I'm more of a diplomatic kind of person, or more of a you stay over there kind of person, which is why banishing is kind of like my go-to. Um, so that's kind of with the kind of defensive stuff. But when it comes to things like prosperity or bringing something in, when you are raising that energy, if you are looking for something like prosperity, like bringing abundance in your life or changing something to be happy, changing something to be better, the energy that you are trying to channel is a happy, excited emotion. It's when you are hyped up because you are having so much fun. Now, you can be physically exhausted at the end of it when you are doing all of your raising energy, like dancing or singing or whatever, but it is a different kind of exhausted than my previous example when you beat the crud out of an effigy. where you are so exhausted that you're going to fall asleep. There's exhausted after a work day versus exhausted after a party. You know, you're smiling off your rocker because you had so much fun, but your body's like, dude, I got to take a break. Whereas after a work day, you're exhausted because you're literally mentally drained and you're like, dude, I need a day off. See the difference there? I like to use a lot of analogies to kind of get my points across, and I'm hoping that it made sense between um, spells towards like a positive end, an abundant end, and spells towards a defensive end. So in terms of like the gate walking formula, for example, being up super late at night, performing all of those steps and reciting all of those incantations, and then specifically the circumambulation when you walk around the gate, which by the way is very dizzying, but it's supposed to be because it's supposed to shift your mind a little bit to take you out of your comfort zone to alter your state of consciousness to allow for the astral ascension. And yeah, you're supposed to be exhausted to that point because when you're physically exhausted and mentally exhausted, that's when you can one astral project in a way. I mean, it's more of a forced thing, um, but people that are more apt to be able to astral project and stuff, that just kind of have a knack for it or have practiced it or just kind of have a skill for it, then yeah, it comes easier. But the when we're trying to reach altered states of consciousness, it actually becomes easier when we are more physically exhausted because there's these filters in our minds. One of them is the affective filter, where we have a hard time learning something if we are defensive about it or nervous about it. So we put up a filter, and it's our brain's way of protecting itself, saying I know my stuff, versus wanting to intake something new. And I mean, so when we exhaust ourselves, it makes it harder for the brain to try to make sense of something rather than experience it. So when we are able to exhaust ourselves, our brain just kind of goes with the flow more. It listens to what's going around us in our environment more. It just listens rather than trying to um, make sense of it. Like there's listening to respond, and there's listening to hear. And a lot of times our brains are listening to respond or listening to react rather than just listening to experience or listening to hear. And when we exhaust ourselves, we are not really responsive. We more go with the flow. And when we're really just going with the flow of things, then we're working with more of our emotional side and more of our receptive side. Whereas, you go to work, you're more on the logical side, where there's certain things that need to be done and there's certain steps that need to be done and you need to act in a certain way, in a certain decorum and all that. But the point of magic is the complete opposite, where you're supposed to open yourself up and be receptive and whatever. So, really, you're taking yourself out of that logical step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mode by exhausting yourself to just go with your gut instincts and listen and just be present. And that's the point of exhausting yourself. And like I said, there's two kind of different levels of exhaustion um, depending on the purpose of your spell work or energy work. So, like I said, there can be like a fun exhausted and a um, a more drained exhausted. It's almost like there could be so much gas in the tank that it's overwhelming, and then there could be so little gas in the tank that it's overwhelming. So I hope this video made sense because I really didn't make a script for it, and I just kind of went off the cuff with it after thinking about it since I got the message. I think it was maybe last night, maybe 2 days ago. But like I said, I've been sick, so my sense of time has really been off. And I think that it can be kind of noted how much more of a deep raspier my voice is. So I'm kind of not making this up. I'm still kind of getting over it. My sleep pattern's still a little messed up, but that's par for the course in my life. Anyway, um, So check out all of my other videos and playlists for Necronomicon mechanics, general magic stuff. Email me with questions, comments, complaints, concerns, issues with the Necronomicon or any other magical inquiries and stuff. Just like the person that made a comment, which inspired me to make this video. It was awesome, and I'm really liking the subscribers that I'm getting. So welcome to all of you new guys. And so I'll catch you in the next vid, and feel free to contact me with anything that you guys want to know. Good hunting.